thanks everyone for joining us. So during this panel, we heard about pay TV operators trying to launch an app to be integrated on CTVs. And we saw that it's not that easy to find a business model that works for both, but that's one side of the value chain. So let's move to another side of the value chain with TV manufacturers trying and needing to choose an operating system at the core of their TV sets. And let's see if if it's easier for them to find a business model that works for both. So to discuss this, I'm joined by Gabriel Cosgrave, General Manager EMEA at Xperi, and Sasha Lange, VP Sales and Marketing at Sharp Corporation. So gentlemen, thanks for joining us. So before starting the discussion, could you please just give us a bit of background about yourself and your company?
Okay, yes. Can you? Yes, so my name is Sasha Lange. As I said, I'm Vice President Marketing and Sales at Sharp Consumer Electronics Europe. That also includes product development. So basically for us, the smart TV or operating system topic is a really hot topic because our businesses are struggling. I think we will come to this point also in a minute. So operating system definitely is a solution for our industry as well. And that's why this IFA is also an exciting IFA, because operating system generally is a hot topic, and it is also for our company.
Thank you, Gabriel.
Yeah, sure. It's working. So good morning. I'm Gabriel Cosgrave, as I mentioned, and GM of EMEA. So maybe just to explain Xperi first. As a company, it's not as easy as Sharp to explain. So Xperi comes from the word experiences and creating extraordinary experiences, and it's a house of brands. So we own DTS, HD Radio, TiVo, which is very much relevant to this conversation. But we operate mostly in four markets. The connected car market, where we actually, HD Radio is a digital radio standard in the US. So we're in about 100 million cars with that worldwide, including we have AutoSense and AutoStage are different DTS, computer vision and media platforms in the car. And we recently announced with BMW a TiVo OS equivalent for the car, which I'll come to later. DTS is a surround sound and audio part of our business, which goes back many, many years. And we partnered with IMAX Enhanced, that program, to bring the IMAX experience to the TVs. And then, as I said, TiVo is back in 2020. We merged together. And that's really a combination where everything came together to create our own Smart TV OS platform, which we'll talk about, including a lot of behind-the-scenes metadata and other things, which becomes very differentiating, which we'll talk about.
Thanks. And yeah, we'll get back on that later. So maybe Sasha, let's start with you, the TV manufacturer here. So you mentioned that the traditional business model was a bit struggling right now. So could you drive us a bit further into this context about your activity in general as a TV manufacturer and how the industry has been evolving lately, especially with the growing adoption of CTVs? So how do you see the pure hardware business for now, and how has it been evolving?
Yeah, I mean, the pure hardware business, honestly speaking, is really a challenge. So we can say in the European market, whether the manufacturer nor most of the retailers are making profit at this point in time, and this obviously is a problem which needs to be resolved. And here we can learn from the United States. They were in the same situation a couple of years ago, and a very prominent example is Vizio. Vizio is a US-based brand, and they are selling mainly TV, but also soundbars. And beginning of 2020, 90% of their gross profit came from hardware sales, and a very tiny bit from operating system. They have own operating system, SmartCast, because they are huge in the US. It makes sense to have our own operating system there. And so then in 2022, 99% of their gross profit came from operating system. So within 2 to 3 years, it changed completely from 90% gross profit from the hardware to 99% gross profit from operating system. Still, on a net profit basis, Vizio is not super profitable because nowadays in the US, the hardware is even sold below cost. So in some sense, the income from the operating system is also substituting the hardware cost. But Visio managed at the end of the day to survive, and that's probably more what we are currently looking at in the TV manufacturing industry, because they changed the business model from a one-time income when the product is sold to a continuous income stream coming from the operating system. And that's basically what we also have to achieve in Europe. So we are in the same situation the US was 3 to 5 years ago. And we have to manage this transition in the business model from a pure hardware sale and making the margin from the TV sale to a continuous income from the operating system. And for guys like Samsung and LG, it's a bit an easier one because they are big enough to have their own operating system. For us, as a smaller manufacturer, it's not really efficient to develop, maintain, and also monetize the operating system. And this is why basically for us, guys like TiVo offer a solution. Right.
Okay. Gabriel, so Xperi is kind of a newcomer in this very segment of TV OS. So how do you position yourself within the evolution of the industry that Sasha just described?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. I think a context setter is really where scale comes from, because scale is very important for content partnerships and streaming service partnerships. So TiVo has been in the pay TV, IPTV world for many years in North America, LATAM, and into parts of Europe, between 35 and 50 million, depending on how you want to look at it, of households are involved with that, as well as what I mentioned with cars and consumer electronics projects. So we actually can bring a lot of content to the table as part of our TiVo OS, which we announced last year, and partners with Sharp and Vestel, for example, later this year. So we actually have a different approach to it than, say, some of the other operating systems, the big tech operating systems, which tend to be more of an apps-driven style OS. We're very much a content-centric UX for the consumer. So you're surfaced content directly, irrespective of source, linear, SVODs, AVODs, fast channels, all searched across the same thing. So TiVo has been doing content discovery with search and recommendation and voice solutions for many, many years, including into operators, actually, which were on this panel, previous panel. So we're able to have a content-centric UX which really drives engagement. And the further you drive engagement, the more you're able to monetize the assets. And our second parameter is really the business model we chose to go down was to share a percentage of the net advertising revenue with our TV OEM partners, right? So that's a different business model in some ways. And then also I think there's a lot of data that happens on a smart TV, right? Not fully GDPR compliant, of course, all that fun stuff. But we actually can track not only ACR data, but also what we call clickstream data, which is the activation data of all the different click-throughs. And that's powerful from a monetization perspective and what we can really focus with the advertisers. So TiVo, going back 10, 12 years, has its own dedicated end-to-end ad tech stack and ad sales teams in New York and other places. So very experienced in monetizing assets, which we've done well. And then the content discovery piece is really important for surfacing content quickly. So we pride ourselves on time to content being very short. And our booth, you can see Sasha's demo as well as his own. It's pretty fast and pretty intuitive. So, but in order to do that, metadata, people may not fully understand the power of metadata behind the search and recommendations, including voice or text. So TiVo, obviously going back many years, owns Rovi, as well as having their own metadata base called TMDB, TiVo Metadata, which constantly scrapes the internet for latest data. You put all of that together into a powerful search engine, you can, whether it's voice or text, and you can surface content even using taglines in movies, and so you don't need to know the titles, you can talk about actors, all other stuff. So it's much more deeply integrated, and we see that as a huge consumer benefit and therefore driving higher engagement with the content, right? So that's a long way of saying we work with our partners in the business model side.
Yeah, so your partnerships between both of your companies has been officialized last month. And this afternoon we'll have a market presentation illustrating also the fragmentation of the TV industry, both on TV side but also on the retail side. So Sasha, you just mentioned that So monetization and the OS were becoming a crucial topic for you. So my question is quite simple for you, since with the fragmentation you have more options to choose from for an operating system. What is Sharp's reasoning like when it comes to choosing an OS, and what are your criteria?
Yeah, I mean, of course, monetization is an important topic, but the first criteria for us to choose or to partner with the operating system partner is user experience. That's pretty much close to what Gabriel already said. So for us, it is important that we have a short time to content, and the content-centric approach TiVo has is helping this quite a lot. It's also how clean the UI is, how much fun a consumer has to navigate in this UI, what is the speed of the system, how good the search engine is working, how good the recommendation engine is working, because not everyone who is consuming content does really know at the beginning what he wants to watch today. He wants to be kind of guided, inspired by the operating system. The next thing is then also voice control. That's also important for us when we judge about user experience. And I think this part is definitely what Gabriel already said is a big point for TiVo. Especially because they have this Rovi, which is basically, I would say, one of the really leading entertainment metadata companies in the world. So their search engine is really super sophisticated. The recommendation is top. And I think the best is what you also said is the voice control, actually. So because it's not like a command-based voice control system, it's a natural language voice control, so you can basically tell the TV whatever you want. You can name an actor, and the system will show you which movies are available from this actor at which platforms. You can name a movie title, and the system will find it quite fast. That are probably basic things, but then what comes on top here, so if you don't remember the actor, if you don't remember the movie title, then you can just say maybe a quote you remember, like "Hasta la vista, baby," and then TiVo will tell you Terminator 2 with Arnold Schwarzenegger, and that's cool, right? So, and that's what really is important for us, this user experience thing. The second point which is important is, of course, content availability. So we check if the partner will offer all the important global content, such as Netflix, Disney+, YouTube, Prime Video, and so on. The next level then for us is European contents like Rakuten TV. But then, of course, we have also a lot of local content which are important for us as well. And that's also the challenge with the TV. You don't develop a set-top box for just one country or one market. You develop a TV to cover, ideally, the whole European market, which for us is 35 countries. Right? I mean, we don't expect TiVo to cover all these countries at the beginning, but for us it's also key that they will cover all the markets with all relevant contents after a certain period of time we plan together. So that's number 2, content availability. Number 3 is also system cost. So what will be at the end the BOM, the bill of material of a TV? And there are 2 main factors. One is the memory needed for the operating system, and the second one is which chipset we can choose. And the cost difference could be up to $5 between operating systems. This doesn't sound really much because the TV costs like 400 or 500 euros or even more. But if you consider that I said before that we are struggling to even have a profitable business, if we do a good job, we are just break even. And we as Sharp are selling about 5 to 6 million TV globally a year, then $5 becomes relevant, right? So that's this, number 3 is bill of material. And the 4th criteria, of course, is monetization, because that's why we have the project for us, monetizing on an OS and finding a partner who is good. And this is a key topic. And it's of course, it's about how much he will share. So Gabriel said, we are sharing a percentage with Sharp. This is a good thing. But for us, it's also important how good this company is in monetization, right? So you can have a company who gives you half of the share because you think it's fair. He is doing the job with the software, I do the job with the hardware. Let's share 50-50. But then they have no clue how to monetize. You get maybe €1 per year, you get 50 cents. But if you have somebody who is good, who gives you 30%, but can monetize €10 a year on a TV, you get €3. So this kind of of judgment is also important for us. So in summary, user experience, content availability, system cost, and monetization opportunity. These are our main criteria to work with the operating system partner.
Okay. So if we stick to the user experience for now, Gabriel, we know the average household are subscribed to between 5, 6, 7 OTT services. So there is an overabundance of content. So what do you see that what customers are requesting when using smart TVs? Now you can help them.
And a little bit, I guess, a couple of statistics. In the US, well, actually, in the US and the UK, TiVo has launched a video trends report. It's on the website. It's every quarter. You can see it there. So in the US, the average number of subscriptions in the US is 11. In the UK, the average is 6. And this will grow. And this is across different between, as I mentioned before, SVOD, AVOD, FAST, etc. So services. Think about that. So content discovery becomes even more difficult, and these numbers will only grow and become even broader. But also having content discovery surface content first, including from linear, right? So it's non-biased content surfacing or discovery, if you want to call it that, together with what we're doing, as Sasha quite rightly explained, between the voice powerful solution and the under the hood metadata. So the UX experience is what we pride ourselves on, not only time to content, but the duration of engagement of watching content. The faster you can find content, the more likely you are to stay watching it and engage for longer. So I think it's 3.6 hours a day is one of the stats in the UK I read there recently of watching. So advertisers will obviously want to know, how long they're watching and what type of things they're watching. But those statistics are proven, and the higher the engagement of content viewing, obviously, the more monetization we can do, right? So that's where we become more benefit behind the scenes.
Okay, and talking still about monetization, also how you can help TV manufacturers like Shape to monetize through the whole life cycle of a TV, and not only on the pure sale of the TV set.
Yeah, well, if you think about it, Sasha, you can answer as well, but the average life cycle of a TV is 5 to 7?
5 to 6 years.
There you go. Okay, I said 7. Okay, 5 to 6 years. So, it's about staying on top of the market presence from a content perspective, and that's where I think, the example in our booth of the TV that we have on display, it's called Wheel of something is the latest Netflix. I'm looking at my team. I can't remember the name. Wheel of something, but it only was released on Tuesday evening, and it shows up as the first trending content on our TV at the show, right? So that's how live and interactive we are with the content sourcing flowing into the UX. So think about that as regards 5 or 6 years. You have a constant update, live cloud-based content-driven UX, and that's what keeps the engagement going over the life cycle. And then obviously with as Sasha mentioned, you go all the way down into the chipset partners and other things. We have flexibility there, and we're working with multiple chip vendors to drive this. So we tend to be around for a long time with our partners and keep that content rich, but also keep the aggregation and search discovery of the content really up to date.
And also for Sasha to keep the customer retention about TV and Sharp TV sets, there's also the fact that it's not a TiVo TV set that you offer.
We're very much made the early decision that we will never have never is a strong word, but a TiVo TV. It is a Sharp TV powered by TiVo. And if you turn on the TV, it launches with Sharp, for example, on the boot screen. Sharp's on the top left, Sharp's on the bottom right sometimes in the settings menus, etc. The only thing we have that is nostalgic is our little TiVo person, the little robot ears guy, on the left bottom corner. And we purposely made that decision because at the end of the day, it's a Sharp TV. And there's been some studies in the US in the big retailers. I believe it was Best Buy. They did the consumer study where one of the TV OEM brands over a 6-month period, surveyed between 3,000 and 4,000 of their buyers of that branded TV. I'm not going to say who. And it turned out that the consumer, 80% of that survey said they bought the OS name TV not the TV brand OEM. So that's a big problem
That's
for
bad
TV
news for me,
manufacturers.
actually.
What?
That's bad news for me, actually.
Bad news. So, because when you walk in some of these, let's just call them bigger tech giants, have a very prominent branding on the UI, and then the TV OEM maybe is on the bezel as usual, but that's about it, right? So we took the opposite approach, and front and center on everything is the TV OEM brand, the Sharp brand in this case, conversation, and we're very proud of that. We believe that's the way it should be.
Yeah, but and that's what I also forgot to mention when you asked for the criteria. I mean, we had a catalog of criteria, but that was really added benefit because for us, being the front face for the customer, this is of course quite important to keep the customer relationship, to keep a little bit the gateway to the living room. Of course, we are sharing the gateway to the living room, right? But we should not become irrelevant. And this is, of course, is a problem if you have an operating system where you just advertise the operating system's
Correct.
name.
Okay. Yeah, and it enables you also for your brand not to be diluted into the operating systems interface. Now, since Sharp is selling TV set, obviously, and as you said, is not focused to one single country like a pay TV operator, but is selling TV sets across the whole continent. If we talk about Europe, what about scale? Does scale belong to your criteria list?
No, I mean, of course, scale is important more also from the monetization point of view, because if you have just a couple of 100,000 devices in the market, then no advertiser would give you advertising inventory, or would buy your advertising inventory. So, I mean, and that's, of course, that was also for us a little bit the challenge with the TiVo thing, because TiVo is new in the smart TV area. So that's why we took a little bit a risk. There is no volume yet. But because they also do the car entertainment, have a video delivery service for cars, and a prominent partner like BMW, which they also present here at the IFA show. So that brings scale. Then TiVo has already the IPTV solutions, and there is a customer base already. So we think this combination of car VOD delivery service for car industry, IPTV, and then smart TV in collaboration with us will bring the scale quite fast. So usually when we speak to the operating system guy, they tell us you need a million active devices per market. It's probably a little bit different country by country, but a million you need. And that's, of course, a critical volume to be relevant for an advertiser. And in this combination, we think it can be achieved. And that's why scale is so important.
Yeah, and you, Gabriel, already at the beginning, and Sasha just now, you mentioned the automotive business. Mm-hmm. So, Gabriel, how do you think this experience in the automotive business can help to grow the overall CTV ad market?
No, you know, and it's the right time, because you had rear seat entertainment for some time, but it was quite DVD driven or that type of playback scenario, and you had some live TV, for example, in Japan. There's tuners in cars, almost by default in some places, but it was very difficult, and the stage has gotten to the point now with 5G being pretty prominent that you can have a really good experience. Obviously, there's a lot of laws around what you can see while you're driving, but in the front screens. But these front screens are getting all the way across in different car brands now in full 4K screen availabilities for different types of content. So we partnered with BMW and just announced it would launch later this year, but it's over there in our booth. We actually took the full TiVo OS style solution, because everything is so cloud connected driven from our we're able to bring that to the car in the same style of content centric UI solutions that is very easy to move around and very performant. But also, I think what's happening is, as cars go down the journey of autonomy and semi-autonomy all the way, people want to be entertained, right? And the first thing they're going to do is take out their phone and look at something. But now with this solution, and this is why we think we're getting so much interest from the car partners, is they want them to keep people engaged in the screens within the car, and not have to try and do an Apple Cast or plug in the CarPlay or any of this sort of stuff. You have everything you have in an offering. So great scenarios actually of one of the heads of BMW product was he collects his kid from soccer all the time, and he always has about 10-15 minutes to wait before the kid finally comes into the car. And this is a great scenario where he can flick through short form content like a TikTok or a Bloomberg or any of these type of spotlight scenarios, or he can continue watching something he had in the house. Because, and this is very important, so continue watching exactly from where you left off on a Netflix documentary or movie or whatever it is, depending on how much time. And that is the same scenario then for charging cars. Obviously there's a period of wait, so that's why we think connected entertainment, which is exactly what's on our tagline over there, is ripe for the car, as well as what we're doing with our TV industry and our IPTV industry.
Okay. I think we already 1 or 2 minutes left before the end. So is there any questions in the audience? No. So maybe, and it will be a good transition for the next panel, about FAST. So Gabriel, you have TiVo Plus.
Yes.
So
TiVo Plus is our own fast service. We have about 168 channels in the US. That is transitioning to Europe, and we will bring that, maybe not 168, but we will bring a good chunk of that over as part of our fast offering on TiVo Plus dedicated. That can be an app, but it's also built into the guides. And again, that content will surface with any search across as well as your partners. So there's no hiding from fast. It's evolving at a speed of light almost in some places. So we have to be able to ensure we're staying on top of the latest content no matter what the source is. So we're proud of that. And we also work, to Sasha's earlier point, with all of the local heroes and different channel offers on a per country basis. As we think about a European-wide offering, we have our dedicated content teams on the ground here, as well as dedicated ad sales teams that are bringing these fast channels, as well as any AVODs, TVODs, etc., all into the mix. Yeah. Okay. Exciting times in the industry, I think. But it's still a matter of, I think your previous panel was talking about, set-top box versus smart TV, and Sasha and I were sitting there, but we had some views on it. I think it's as you try to bring, the concept of operator TV is becoming actually less of a constant and more of a reality conversation where, some operators that we're talking to want to have their own branded TV and on the bezel even, that it's a full scale, it looks like, or some operators want to have and that Sharp TV, for example, as part of a broadband subscription, you get a TV for a couple of years, or maybe one step further than that is the Sky Glass style, where you have a monthly subscription or something for different things. So it's evolving again into that, because I think the apps-based approach is becoming a little bit less easy to use. You have to open apps and close apps, and I think that's why we went with a content-centric. You don't open apps. You just search for content. So I don't know if you have any thoughts on operator.
Well, I mean, that's an interesting point. I mean, theoretically, we could see this operator TV development as a threat, because, for example, in the UK, Sky Glass, they took a market share of about 10% within 1 year, and that they took also from us. But that's why we also decided that we also have another project, a future project in our company, which is operator TV. So we are also now offering several solutions for operator TV based on different kinds of platforms, but also delivering different kind of solutions, because an operator might have an issue to organize the logistics of the TV to the home. We can do that because we are doing this already. We have call centers. They might not have call centers which can manage after-sales problems of TVs. So we have also a project where we use our supply chain to provide operator TV. Different systems can be with or without Sharp brand. And then, of course, we can also manage the supply chain after the TV was manufactured.
Okay. Gentlemen, thank you for these insights. And now I will leave the floor to my colleague Jocelyn for a panel dedicated to AVOD and FAST with Olivier Jolet from Paramount. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.